Genesis 16 through 18. Now Sarah, Abram's wife, bore him no children. She had a servant, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said to Abram, "See now, Yahweh has restrained me from bearing. Please go into my servant. It may be that I will obtain a child by her." And Abram listened to the voice of Sarah. So Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her servant, after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to Abram, her husband, to be his wife. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. When she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Sarah said to Abram, "This wrong is your fault. I gave my servant into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, she despised me. May Yahweh judge between me and you." But Abram said to Sarah, "Behold, your maid is in your hand. Do to her whatever is good in your eyes." Sarah dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her face. Now the angel of Yahweh found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain of the way of Shur. And he said, "Hagar, Sarah's servant, where did you come from? Where are you going?" She said, "I am fleeing from the face of my mistress, Sarah." The angel of Yahweh said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hands." The angel of Yahweh also said to her, "I will greatly multiply your seed, that they will not be counted for multitude." And the angel of Yahweh said to her, "Behold, you are with child, and will bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh has heard your affliction. He will be like a wild donkey among men. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He will live oppressed to all of his brothers. He will live opposed to all of his brothers." Then she called the name of Yahweh, who spoke to her, "You are El Roi." For she said, Have I even stayed alive after seeing him?" Therefore the well was called Bir Leah Roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Beerd. And Hagar bore a son of Abram, and Abram called the name of his son, whose Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar was born Ishmael to Abram. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be blameless. I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly." Then Abram fell on his face. God talked with him, saying, "As for me, behold, my covenant is with you. You will be the father of a multitude of nations. Your name will no more be called Abram, but your name will be Abraham. For I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you. Kings will come out of you. I will establish my covenant between me, you, your seed, after you throughout their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God to you, and to your seed after you. I will give to you and to your seed after you the land where you are traveling, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. I will be their God." And God said to Abraham, "As for you, you will keep my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout your generations. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. It will be a sign of the covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old will be circumcised among you, every male throughout your generations. He who is born in the house or bought with money from any foreigner who is not of your seed, he who is born in your house, and he who is brought with your money, must be circumcised. My covenant will be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised male, who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. God said to Abraham, As for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but her name will be called Sarah. I will bless her, and moreover I will bless you. I will give you a son by her. Yes, I will bless her, and she will be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Will a child be born to him who is 100 years old? Will Sarah, who is 90 years old, give birth? Abraham said to God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before you. God said, No, but Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son. You shall call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant for his seed after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this set time next year. When he finished talking with him, God went up from Abraham. Abraham took Ishmael his son, all who were born in his house, and all who were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the same day. As God had said to him, Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the same day, both Abraham and Ishmael, his son, were circumcised. All the men of his household were born in this house, and those bought with money from a foreigner were circumcised with him. Yahweh appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre. As he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and saw that there were 3 men stood near him. When he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself to the earth, and said, O Adonai, if now I have found favor in your sight, please do not go away from your servant. Now let a little water be fetched, wash your feet, rest yourselves under the tree. I will get a piece of bread so you can refresh your heart. After that you may go your way. Now that you have come to your servant, they said, Very well, do as you have said. So Abraham hurried, and into the tent to Sarah said, Quickly, prepare 3 seahs of fine flour, knead it, make cakes. Abraham ran to the herd and fetched a good calf, and gave it to the servant. He hurried to dress it. He took butter, milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. He stood by them under the tree, and they ate. They asked him, Where is Sarah, your wife? And he said, There, in the tent. He said, I will certainly return to you at about this time next year, and behold, Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Sarah heard in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age. Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, will I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And Yahweh said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Will I really bear a child when I am old? Is there anything too hard for Yahweh? At this set time I will return to you, when the season comes round, and Sarah will have a son. Then Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. Then the men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to see them on their way. Yahweh said, Will I hide from Abraham what I do? Since Abraham will surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed in him. For I have known him to the end that he may command his children and his household after him, that they may keep the way of Yahweh to do righteousness and justice, to the end that Yahweh may bring on Abraham that which he has spoken of him, Then Yahweh said, Behold, the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether their deeds are as bad as the reports which have come to me. If not, I will know. The men turned from there and went towards Sodom, but Abram stood yet before Yahweh. Abraham came near and said, Will you consume the righteous with the wicked? What if there were 50 righteous within the city? Will you consume and not spare the place for the 50 righteous who are in it? May it be far from you to do things like that, to kill the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous would be like the wicked. May that be far from you. Should not the judge of all the earth do right? So Yahweh said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Abraham answered and said, I have taken it on myself to speak to Adonai, although I am dust and ashes. What if there were lack 5 of the 50 righteous? Will you destroy all the city for lack of 5? He said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. And he spoke to him again and said, What if there are 40 found there? He said, I will not do it for 40's sake. Then he said, Oh, do not let Adonai be angry, and I will speak. What if there were 30 found there? And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, See now, I have taken in on myself to speak to Adonai. What if there were 20 found there? And he said, I will not destroy it for if there were 20's sake. And he said, Let Adonai not be angry, and I will speak just once more. What if 10 were found there? And he said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. And Yahweh went his way, and soon as he had finished communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place.